Welcome back and hello if you are new. Combining the lethargic drawl of old school death metal with this revitalized cosmic idea of death metal, Tomb Mold are here once again to destroy, and this time they've got the universe in their sights on Planetary Clairvoyance. If you were looking for a reference point with this band, think if you're watching Lost in Space, but the cast were Obituary, Entombed, Disincarnate, and Bolt Thrower. Each song acts as though it's this kind of sleeping giant which has slowly been awakened and kind of is drowsy, but then slowly but surely gains consciousness, and then bam, you're into that Tomb Mold ferocity. It's brilliant. One of the biggest surprises comes in the form of an acoustic guitar section on Beg for Life, which completely sidelined me. I didn't expect that at all. And then it's followed up by this sci-fi spacey lead, which again, lends to that cosmic idea of what Tomb Mold stand for. One of the record's greatest strengths, however, lies in its atmosphere. And it's literally, from the second you turn the record on, this kind of dark and dingy atmosphere of whatever these faceless entities are lurking in the corners are just ready to kind of like pounce out at you, and that's what I loved the most. But the thing is, with Manner of Infinite Forms, I was very late on getting into that one, I apologise guys, I really dropped the ball there, but Manner of Forms was more kind of organic and felt like you were almost sort of, underground, whereas Planetary Clairvoyance sounds like you're Ripley and you're being stalked by the alien, that level of kind of almost quite a lot of tension, really.
Get away from her, you bitch!
And in particular, it's the use of this kind of 80s sound using these keys on Phosphorine Ultimate, which really did remind me of this kind of, really quite grandiose, almost like, the song that David plays at the end of Alien Covenant. And it does have that sort of grandiose Vangelis feel to it, almost a bit Blade Runner. But then it's changed completely and the atmosphere becomes so much more menacing later on.
Don't let the bed bugs bite.
Owing to the songwriting, it almost feels like we're being pulled through this vortex of riffs, and that each song doesn't really ever kind of stop. And that's a fantastic thing because, it does create this ebb and flow, but the songs are so brilliantly well written that the final note of one song will lead straight into the next one. The songwriting is also really fantastic and almost kind of goes into this instrumental idea on final track Heat Death, where we don't even have any vocals for the first 3.5 minutes of the song, but you don't mind because it's so interesting and it's so well written and fluid that it really works. And when the vocals do come in, it's kind of more of a surprise than anything. Tomb Mold have definitely turned up their death metal levels a lot more on this album. And there are some fantastic elements on Infinite Resurrection, for example, which has these kind of really cavernous style riffs, but there's also a clear influence of that old school death metal guard. And particularly there's an emphasis on the influence of Carcass with these kind of call and response style riffs that the band have implemented. The slow drawl also reminds me of Bolt Thrower on Cerulean Salvation, for example. But nevertheless, Tomb Mold really know how to kind of get a room moving, particularly on They Grow Inside Part 2, where this massive juggernaut riff comes through. There are classic sounds of what you would expect to hear from the likes of Death on Cerulean Salvation, which really does sound like it could have come straight out of Spiritual Healing, which is by no means a bad thing. Tomb Mold put together inventive and fantastically written riffs, and although they may be paying homage to the death metal greats, there's always their sense of identity within that. It's clear to see that Tomb Mold have been working on their songwriting craft whilst also adding various different elements and experimenting to push the boat out somewhat. Planetary Clairvoyance is another incredibly fantastic addition to the band's already stellar catalogue that they've done in 3 years. You could certainly be looking at a death metal album of the year here. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that like and subscribe button. Be sure to check out all my other album reviews and interviews, all that sort of stuff. Leave a comment, let me know what you think of Tomb Mold. Are you a fan? Are you not? I'd love to know. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next week for another album review. Alright, take care friends.